Andrew King with Canadian Musician Magazine. Have the pleasure to be joined here by the three gents from Keys N Krates. But around the circle and let us know what you do in the band.
Adam Toon, I'm the drummer.
Matisse, I play keys.
Flow, I play turntables.
Okay, so I asked you before we got started here, the next EP, you've got two already to your name. Not that people are waiting with bated breath between, well, I'm sure they are, but I mean, you guys are pretty prolific and releasing a lot of remixes and whatnot in between. But Solow, the next EP, what can folks expect from that if you had to put your finger on it, maybe something new that you guys are incorporating or something that you're going to showcase that hasn't been on the previous two EPs that people close to the band might not expect, might be really fresh to them?
That's an interesting question. I guess for us, we would say musically we did a lot of work trying to make sure the sound, and not only the sound but the samples that we used were more original samples and stuff that, were really our own, or we actually brought in artists to do a lot of the samples. So it might not sound like a lot, but for us that was a big kind of step and a big hurdle to get over. So I think on this EP you're going to find a lot of sounds and samples that are literally just our own, and you're not going to be able to say, oh, that's from this track or that's from this track. We spent a lot of time really kind of just coming up with our own samples and our own sounds, so it's more of a real Keys N Krates sound and shape. And that would be the first thing, I think.
I think we're just trying to progress the sound further. I mean, we're just trying to, keep pushing the envelope in terms of sort of weird banging rap beats. And this EP kind of has sort of a variety of that. Like I Just Can't Deny, which is a track that kind of has elements of like Treat Me Right with like the pitched up vocals and like the big pads.
Oh, okay.
And then we have like another song called Ratchet Hose, which is more like it's like a club banger. It's just like a straight club banger. It's pretty trappy. And then we have the track that we actually just released today called Dum De Dum, which is kind of like it's like a rap beat with like a choir kind of sample, and it's really sort of like dark and menacing, like choir kind of sample beat. We're really stoked on that. So we just put that out today, and people seem to be digging that. And then Treat Me Right's also on there, which already came out, but It's like on the EP as well. So yeah.
I didn't know about the track that dropped today. Actually, I've been in the air most of the day until now, but I'm glad you alluded to so many of the different things that we're going to hear, because that's one of the things that I'm sure a lot of your listeners notice is even just some of the remixes you guys do. I mean, from Florence and the Machine to dubstep stuff like Bass Nectar to, that Weekend remix is killer. When you're taking on these tracks by other people and kind of when you're remixing, you're really playing with their root elements and components, and I'm just wondering, do you find that attributes to your musical development and what you bring to the table for Keys N Krates original stuff when you're playing around with some of those tracks by such a wide variety of artists that you guys are known for putting your hands on?
Well, yeah, I like to look at it a lot like it's kind of like cooking, and you're taking influence from Mediterranean style or Caribbean style, and they all just kind of come into your pot, and you just grab a spice here, you grab a flavor there, and you just kind of put it all together and see what you come out with. And we're always sitting there, one of us will listen to something one night and he'll be like, I really heard this track that was really dope, I like the way this groove worked, or I like the way they did this sound or whatever. We just kind of go into the studio and the rehearsal room with these ideas and just kind of sweat it out, and the best ideas stick, and then we kind of just look back and we try to make sure that all of us are happy with everything. I think that's one of the things that's kind of made sure that our music stays at a certain level, is that we try to all be happy, which is a frustrating process sometimes, but I think it's what makes our music stand out. And we all come together with our flavors of it, and we all bring different things together. And I think, it's obviously helped us grow as musicians and producers, and always having two people around you to really just criticize and pound out that beat you made and make you just work at it harder even when you're satisfied with it, and be like, oh, okay, fine, push you to that next level. I think that's one of our advantages over, maybe other groups, is that, none of us ever settle for less.
Mm-hmm. One of the first times that I came into contact with the band was actually in doing an interview with the dudes that run Puck's Farm Studio. And how interesting is it that, I mean, that whole interview was really about their holding on to analog recording techniques, and I've got to ask, because it's something that, I mean, applies to that, and also just the live feel of your music, sort of bringing in that transparent, very organic process to a style of music that really, I mean, outside of you guys, most of your contemporaries, it's not something, a lot of it is in the box music creation. I'd just love to hear about what informed the decision to cut some tracks at a studio like Puck's Farm, and ultimately how that hybrid of old school methodology with some of these really new contemporary sounds that you're fusing in has contributed to, what's propelled you guys here so far.
Yeah, I think that was my kind of forcing the band to try to do the analog thing. At the time, I think a lot of our stuff, like, we were still trying to develop our sound, so all we basically had was our live show. So the idea behind it was kind of just to take that live show and just record it in a unique way that wasn't being done currently, like, so all non-digital. Like Puck's Farm, they didn't even have, I think the only digital gear they had was a CD burner. Like, I asked them to do an edit, and there was nothing. It was all on the fly, and it was dirty with cows in the background. Like, you've seen the place. But I think since then, you know, we still try to do a lot of stuff with analog, but we've kind of taken the different approach of actually producing with electronic stuff now. But yeah, I would still be down to try another one of those.
We were just mentioning, I mean, you're sharing the stage tonight with Austra and a few other bands. Sort of a chameleon, and I think it must contribute to that sort of the overall finished sound of your product, but also that live, like we were talking about, sort of organic, off-the-floor sound to it. The different festivals that you've played, the different bands that you've shared the stage with is pretty vast, especially considering that, you know, electronic roots that you have. I'm just wondering, is it an opportunity you relish to play with all these different kinds of artists, which then come with different kinds of crowds, and the opportunity to play in front of so many different people that maybe hearing you on record might not bite at the first time, and yet, you get to show them what you do by association kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. We really like, because, you know, we play stuff. You know, we play bills where we're literally the only band on the bill. It's just like a bunch of DJs and producers on laptops and stuff, and that's awesome, because a lot of times at those shows, kids come already starting. They're more and more lately. They're starting to kind of come knowing our tracks or knowing something about our music from the internet, and playing with bands is like a whole other beast, because you're getting a lot of people. If they haven't heard of you, they're just kind of trying to see an awesome band and have this like new experience, which is really, I mean, it's kind of refreshing when you go from playing a lot of festivals with just a bunch of DJs to like sharing the stage with other bands and people there to see live music. So, I mean, we just like doing all of it, you know, like it's like Oshiega, we played more of a band stage. Like there was a rock band on
in the trees. I meant to bring that one up in my examples, because I was at that show, and you're absolutely right. I mean, they had a stage designated for the EDM kind of stuff, and then it was, what was it, the tree stage, like that fourth one right in the middle of the forest, and the sheepdogs were on there, and then there's Keys N Krates to close out the night.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Like we love playing band stages, and it's just like a different thing, like just. Because I don't know, I think, you know, interestingly enough, I don't think a lot of people that follow like a band like Austra find out about our stuff on the internet as much, because we're not on like Pitchfork and those kind of publications. We're on, ironically, a lot of like EDM publications. So the kids that come knowing us already are like the kids that listen to like Flosstradamus or like Hudson Mohawk and stuff like that. But the kids that are like into indie bands and stuff like that, I feel like don't know us as much. So it's great to be able to play with like other indie bands, so we can actually get access to those kids and turn them into fans, hopefully.
Plus, you know, I think we all, like, we've become known for our production, but we all started first as musicians jamming together. Yeah. And I mean, that's really the funnest, you know, the most fun I get out of it is just being on stage the production's fun as well, but when you're on stage and you're playing, I mean, that's really, I think, what we all do it for. And you get a different set of ideas watching bands play. I mean, we're around so many DJs. I find just for idea-wise, we get more stuff from watching bands, and that kind of we always try to figure out where we're at in terms of what kind of show are we. And we know we're produced, electronic based, but at the same time we're musicians, so just tonight, we'll probably watch Oster and just see what they do as a show, as a band, and be able to take some ideas from that we wouldn't necessarily be able to take from watching, a traditional DJ set or something else, So just as fans alone, you're just backstage, you're getting to watch some of the best bands ever and be able to take notes and then bring that into your room next day inspired and throw it into your set and see what comes out is, I think, one of the things we're most, feel most fortunate to be able to do.
We like to think that the refreshing aspect is there, but the deficiencies in like the loudness and the bass aren't there. Whereas that used to be the case. We before we kind of made a jump like a year and a half ago in like the way we set up our stuff. And now it's like, especially with like losing the live kick and using like an electronic kick where we can use any kick we want, it was kind of a huge jump for us in terms of like our sound just sounding big like a DJ would, but still having like the live feel and the performance of a band.
Totally.
We're still sloppy.
But we're still sloppy.
When you say sloppy, I like the word human, because really it's way better. It's the human element that makes it so engaging. And for folks out there, we were just talking the next EP, Solow, dropping late summer, early fall. We talked about some of the new things people are going to hear. The single Treat Me Right is out there now. Thanks for taking the time, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,